Welcome to the Marketing Powers Podcast. I'm your host, Mkwemba Mangangu, and I'm joined by my co-host, Grace Gondwe.
We're both marketing enthusiasts with a passion for sharing our knowledge and insights with you. This podcast is designed to equip our listeners with the information they need to excel at marketing in their different spaces. Our aim is to bring marketing home.
With that said, let's delve into today's episode. Hi, Grace. How are you doing?
Hi, Mukwemba. I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good. How's the week going?
The week, as usual.
As usual, high energy, eh?
High energy.
Still in it.
Still in it. We're not complaining. We're pushing forward.
That's good. We love the energy. It's always good to be kicking all the way through the week.
Exactly. Maybe it's also because of what we're about to talk about.
Yes, very, very hot topic, actually. Some interesting conversations. We were just talking about it here in the studio and, just sharing a few thoughts. And it's a very, very interesting subject matter. And I'm ready to get into it.
You're ready to get into it?
Yeah.
Okay. So today we're dealing with this beast called social media marketing. Mm-hmm. And at the heart of it, we start with understanding what is social media. And for most of us, can be defined academically as a collective term for websites and applications that focus on communication, community-based input, interaction, content sharing, and collaboration, or known to most of us as Facebook, Twitter, TikTok,
Instagram,
or formerly X, formerly TikTok,
yes.
Formerly Twitter,
yes,
Instagram, Pinterest,
Threads,
yeah. And so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, social media basically is a fairly new phenomenon if you're looking at it in terms of time and history and technology evolving. I think the rise of it has been with Facebook over the last 15 years, which started as a very small social network just for friends to keep in touch and so on. And it's grown into this huge phenomenon that basically drives even how we live and how we interact with one another. And it has changed how we live and it has changed how we do business as well. And it's had a very, very, very big impact on marketing and the marketing industry. And we want to get a little bit into that in this conversation.
You know what? Immediately you said it's fairly new. I was thinking of Gen Alphas listening to this and going,
it's always been there.
What?
It's always been there.
What do you mean?
What are you talking about? Yeah, then you realize that you're actually old. Yeah, I remember a time with no Facebook. There was a time when there was no Facebook. And it's interesting because you hear Gen Xers and Boomers tell you, I remember a time when there was no phone. Yeah, so that tells you we've been around for a bit. We're becoming dinosaurs.
We're becoming dinosaurs. Wow.
Yeah.
So yes, we acknowledge the beauty Facebook creates for businesses and the power it has. Mm-hmm. And just like you said, brands and building awareness. Mm-hmm. I just want to, before we get into that, and the importance that we acknowledge it for, is going into... I read a book, so it's called The Hooked Model by Nir Eyal. So basically, he wrote a book on how to build habit-forming products. I actually brought it for you. You should
I must
read it.
Thank you.
Please.
Thank you. It's on it definitely on my January reading list.
Finally.
Yeah.
Something to start with.
Yes.
Okay. So he published this book in 2014, and a lot of what he said is still very relevant to the discussion around social media marketing. So the book in totality explores the psychology and mechanics behind creating products and services that form habits in users. So if we're going to talk about social media, maybe let's get back to some things people may not really
know about how it works,
or how did I get to a point that this is all I'm doing?
Yes, I'm finding myself just scrolling. What is it about it
exactly
that has a chokehold?
Has you hooked?
Yeah,
on it. So his hook model has 4 parts. So it's trigger, action, reward, and investment. So triggers works in 2 ways. You've got external triggers and internal triggers.
Yeah.
So an external trigger would basically, you seeing an ad saying, go to Facebook.
Buy this.
You know,
Check this. Yeah.
exactly. If you look at this on X, this is where you find this. Go to our Instagram page. That would be an external trigger. Whereas then we have internal triggers. This is where I guess where sometimes we would say the money starts
Flowing.
Yeah. Because if you can do it internally, because now you're dealing with someone saying they are bored. So that becomes a trigger for them. You're sitting at home, there's nothing you're doing, and you realize, okay,
I have my phone.
Yeah. Let me go to Facebook. Let me go on YouTube. Let me get entertained. So that's the trigger. And a lot of us are in that space. It's so bad that we can be busy. Actually, we have something to do.
But the hook is so...
The hook.
We are so hooked.
Yes.
That
we feel the need to check our phones and see what exactly is going on and what am I missing out on? Or is it FOMO? The fear of missing out. So the next phase is that of action. So this on the side of the people that make these products, it's how do you make the response to the trigger as easy as possible?
Low friction.
No friction. So where you open it. If you go on TikTok, you open it immediately, a video starts playing. So how do you make it easy as possible to just respond to a message on WhatsApp, to click play on YouTube? Once we do that, we go to the variable reward. So obviously you're out, you've gone on, you're on your phone, and now you've scratched the itch that you're feeling.
The word I think that a lot of people who talk about this use, I think, is dopamine. That the short videos will give you these hits of dopamine when you watch them, and that then reinforces the cycle, so that you have that internal trigger.
Yes.
And when you have that internal trigger, because the habit has been created, then it becomes a vicious cycle, and that habit is formed and you're hooked.
Exactly. Yeah. So you see, there you go, and that's the core of it. At the end of it all, we create a loop.
Yeah.
So once you have the variable reward, so it's almost like going back to even things like gaming and that's the beauty. Like when you go on Facebook, you're bored, but you don't know what you're going to find.
Yes.
And that's what we're referring to as the variable reward. Because you find, okay, you look at something, you scroll, you see something else. Okay, before you know it, you're just in this, you're just scrolling,
vicious
going
cycle
down and looking for different things. Yeah. And finally, he talks about investment. So this is basically us users investing either our content, our data, our time, our effort, or social capital. And once we do that, this increases the likelihood of us returning for another cycle. Going back to the trigger. So simply, if I post a picture on Facebook or on Instagram, a part of me is like, I've invested my time in there. Now it's like, have people liked it?
Who has commented?
Yeah, exactly.
Am I viral?
Or has someone responded to the text I sent? And what that does is it sends you back.
Yes, it keeps you. Yeah,
it keeps you back, and that's just the hooked model and what social media has become. Because when it was created in the first place, he defines it as a vitamin. But you see, the truth is, no one wants vitamins. People want painkillers.
That's such an interesting way to look at it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But now
painkillers are only good in moderation. Any drug is only good in moderation. When you go over, then it becomes an addiction. And you see, the whole essence of the book is to create habit forming, because it says anything we refer to as an addiction is bad. We're not going as far. We're not going to use the word addiction. There's good addictions. Yeah, no. Yeah, it's a habit. It's a habit, and so you can have, I guess, build healthy habits. Yes, definitely. And that's what we go about. Now, with the hook model, like I mentioned earlier, you have vitamins and painkillers. So vitamins
when social media comes, it comes on, and I mean, it's really nothing. But over time, it grows into a phenomenon, and now it becomes a painkiller, because now you find people who people almost acting sick because they can't get on Facebook,
yeah.
or on social media in general.
Yeah, we've had instances of like WhatsApp being down,
Yes,
or like Twitter being down, and it's like, oh my God, is my phone dead? Is the internet service provider, like, what's going on? Yeah.
So that's what they've managed to do. Built it into a habit, so much so that you've got your internal triggers, and immediately something comes up, you go to it, because you've reached a point where you don't even think of things like, do I have to wait for traditional news to still be something? Like, no problem, I'll find it on social media. And if you don't find it, you're like, it's probably fake.
Yes, that's where we're at now.
That's where we're at with the hooked model, and how social media has become more of a painkiller. And now we're wondering, how do we as marketers utilize it? We leverage what we have to make the most out of the situation. So please.
Yeah, that's very, very interesting. I'm honestly very fascinated at social media, and I say this as somebody who, I'm not immune to the doom scroll, as it is called. And so just hearing that, it makes a lot of sense, actually. And that cycle is very much the cycle of habit formation, right? If you look into that, the science behind habit formation and how people create habits, right? It's really that cycle. And it's interesting that you can actually take it and, as a marketer, use it as a way to, create products that will then have people hooked. It's very, very interesting how marketing interacts with human behavior and psychology.
So just
and
go into
all
the
of that.
psychology of it, and our consumer behavior, which is a very interesting
topic
for another day.
I agree. Yes, for another day. So yeah, social media is this giant thing that we as marketers are looking for ways that we can leverage, and there are a few things that if you're just starting to dip your toes into social media marketing, there are a few things that would like for you to have just in the back of your mind that are key aspects to consider as you go into social media marketing. And I think the first one of those is platform selection and just devising your strategy. So I think we said this when we were talking about the 4 Ps. Yes. I think we touched on market segmentation, and essentially that's what, in a way, platform selection is, right? Is saying, who are my clients? Who are my customers? Where can I reach them? And, coming at that intersection point and saying, okay, if I'm targeting Gen Z or Gen Alpha, I'm not going to find them on Facebook. I'm going to find them on TikTok, right? Yeah. I'm going to find them on Snapchat. If I'm looking for millennials, if I'm looking for boomers and Gen Xers, I'm going to find those on, Facebook. And then crafting your strategy in that way. The way you make messaging that you are, crafting for Gen Z or crafting for Gen Alpha will look very, very different than how you create messaging for, boomers and Gen Xers and millennials. So thinking about what are the touch points from the social media perspective, where, these different demographics are found, and how can I, connect with them in that way?
You know what's actually funny? So a recent study was carried out. And the largest segment of social media users apparently falls between 27 and 42 years of age.
That's very interesting.
Yes, you would think.
Yeah, you'd. I would actually think that there are younger people. There are a lot more younger people, actually.
No, so that bracket is followed by the Gen Zs that will obviously constitute the larger, 24.6%.
Okay.
Of the people that use social media.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
I mean, maybe we could look at it from the aspect of they haven't yet come into money, and now ourselves are now getting to this phase where, I mean, you have the resources to use these platforms, and where the huge majority, these are they're just coming in, but they found us.
Yes,
exactly.
Yes. I mean, like, when you look at it from a money perspective, it actually does make sense.
Yes,
and I like that you brought that in, because I think we may have touched on it it could have been in a conversation or it could have been in the last episode when we were talking about how it's very, very important to understand who you are targeting your advertising at and who your consumer is.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So when you understand that, you want to sell this product or you want to advertise this service, etc., and you understand that the larger majority of the demographic that has money to spend is actually the millennials, then you say, okay, how can I craft my communications
in such a way
that it connects,
with them,
with this particular demographic? So that was a really good point. Yeah.
So, and on that, obviously, we're talking about how do you pick the platform that's going to help you. Okay. In Zambia, if we look at the stats at the moment, Facebook has 62.68% of the population. That's where most people are found.
Yes.
Then we have this notion of, so from Facebook, even before I go to the very next platform, you have X, right? Formerly Twitter.
Yeah.
Or should we call it Twitter? It's so confusing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have that, we have those platforms, but you realize if you go on Twitter, there's a way in which people on Twitter will talk about people that use Facebook.
Yes.
It's like, what Facebook?
Yeah.
It's like Facebook is just where is the
this
combo.
ghetto place. Facebook is this. And I think that's an interesting nuance, actually, that you should say the way Facebook community is very different, even with the way Instagram is. If you remember during the elections, Facebook was it was a space for taking action, for activism. Twitter as well, making your voice heard, etc., etc. Instagram, vibes.
Just chills.
Instagram, they were just vibes. And people were saying, "Ko Instagram, it's just buddies with their nails done, their hair, whatever." And I think
of foods,
going for chills, etc., etc. So like the for lack of a better term, vibes.
Yes.
The vibes carry the way they are carried on Facebook, the way it is on Twitter, the way it is on Instagram, the way it is on TikTok. They are literally very, very different places. It's almost like it's virtual reality, but it's reality. You know how those differences are there. And it's very important as a marketing mind to, factor all of those differences in.
Which is funny, like back to the vibes, right? You find those people who specifically, because of the kind of audience they reach. So you find that in Zambia, for most people, if you're on, say, Twitter and you tweet something, you will not get as many reactions as you will if you do it on Facebook.
That's true. There's more engagement,
There's more engagement on Facebook. But I mean, it also depends on who you are, right? And the type of audience you've built. There's people who can still pull those numbers.
Yes.
But
they're still having high levels of engagement with their content.
Exactly. But chances are, and most cases, is that people on Facebook have a lot of people commenting and saying stuff there. And you have people who are on Twitter who feel like, you know what, people here just using English.
Yeah. They're so serious.
They've arrived.
Yes. Very much so.
My content is not for this audience.
For this platform.
Exactly.
It's not for this platform. It's very interesting, actually. I think I actually don't use X. I used to use it maybe 10, 11 years ago. I don't use it as much now. I take a minimalist approach to using social media platforms. So I don't have TikTok. I tried it, not so much. I don't have Threads. I don't have X and etc. etc. But just like you are saying, there's a way that the communities have evolved, right? There's a way that the communities have evolved. And I think it's kind of owed to, the first movers and the kind of content that they created. And content creation actually and content sharing is kind of, I think, what we're getting at here is there's a way that, especially the first movers and kind of what they created and, the bigger voices on the platforms that began to get traction and how they handled it, I think has kind of influenced how these platforms have evolved, because I think there's even the geographical differences as well, because, there's places where you go, there's a country in the Middle East, I forget the name, I think it might be Oman or Bahrain, where everything is on Instagram.
Okay.
News, entertainment, whatever, everything.
You find it
evolves on Instagram.
Okay.
Whereas for us here, Instagram is a very Gen Z almost platform, right? The demographic is much younger. They're very, like we said, it's vibes, etc., and stuff like that. And then if you're looking for news, you're looking for information, you're looking for all of these updates. If you're looking for heavy advertising, you're going to find that on Facebook. So there's even those geographical differences. If you're looking at it from a global perspective, all of those nuances come into play. And those factored influenced rather by the kind of content that is created and shared on these platforms.
Yes, and so with that point, I just thought I should also throw in WeChat, specific to China.
Yes,
which is such is for them is such a huge platform that it does almost everything. They pay for stuff using WeChat.
Okay, I see. I didn't know that. Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken, you can store money on WeChat and things like that. So it's like heavily guarded, is very well secure in the terms. If we use it here, I mean, you're just going to use it for
instant messaging. Yeah.
Yes, but in China, I think WeChat is, unless I'm mistaken, I believe it's a very, very big deal.
That's interesting.
When we talk about obviously localities and how they use different platforms, because you find that most people who are actually in places like China have to use what do you call this?
VPNs.
VPNs just to be able to communicate with the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So there's that we can think of, and our basis for content sharing, like you said, is the platform. So you who's ready to get into using social media, where is your audience? How best are you going to craft your message?
Connect with them.
Exactly. Are they going to receive it? Are you trying to deal with professionals? You realize, okay, maybe I go to LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, yes.
Which is one you actually enjoy using very much.
Yes, I like LinkedIn. I hope I don't sound like a snob. Listen, LinkedIn, just like every other social media, it has its pitfalls. All of these things are there. But I think it's the most growth-oriented of all of the platforms.
Okay.
Of course, there's even memes about how, there's these jokes about how motivational speakers would tell you, I started my one feather. Now I have chicken runs.
It's happening.
There's all of those things are there. But as with every other platform, right? You pick out the meat and you leave the bones. But the thing I like about LinkedIn is the growth that if whether it's the algorithm or whatever it is, the growth that it drives, right? Yeah. It's nice to go to a platform where you can get information. You'll go to LinkedIn and you'll come away at least having learned one
or two things,
right? And I mean, I'm looking for ways that I can leverage, for my career, for building my professional skills, etc., etc. So yeah, LinkedIn is unashamedly, I'm there.
You are there, and I mean, it's the one place that is likely to get you noticed and bring in the money.
Yes.
So why not?
Professionally, it is. For my field of work,
yes.
Professionally, it is a really, really good platform. But again, with those nuances, there are some people who, for professionally, Facebook is the place because maybe you're doing a very sales-oriented job and buyers are on Facebook.
Yes.
So
with Facebook
it's
Marketplace.
Really not, so we're really not here to say pick one over the other.
Yes.
We're really just here to say what are your needs, align them with, which platform fits best for you and for your target market.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think another thing is community engagement. I think we had an interesting conversation about this one.
Yeah.
We had do you want to talk about the conversation we had about this one?
Okay, so when we talk about community engagement, we start off with referring to it as where we're building a community around a brand, involves interacting with your audience, responding to comments, messages, mentions, obviously fosters engagements and helps establish positive brand image. So this interaction can involve customer support, answering queries, or simply engaging in conversations related to the industry that you're in. So we had a conversation around, I think we were talking about Muzokanji.
Yes, we were talking about Muzokanji.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think, is it Jelumu that she was working for?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So it's Jalum with cars. So right now, she opened her own restaurant.
Okay.
Okay. I think it's called Metopia, if I'm not mistaken. Now we're talking about community engagement. So these are the people who have built something around their brand. And now we have people who are these diehard followers.
Yeah.
There's nothing she can do wrong.
They're committed to the cause, the brand, the whatever word you want to call it.
Exactly. So from a point of where you interact with your audience, and now you feel like you've brought these people
around
into your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they somewhat feel like they understand you. Yes. They know you.
Yes.
You know, they know your struggles and things like that, which now works for her because now that she's able to build, say, she's got a restaurant. Now you have people who are going, you know what? That's our person. We have built a community.
We are going to the restaurant.
We are going to the restaurant to eat, and we will pay.
Yes, the business will not fail because she's our person. And I think one of the things that came out is, actually a lot of these very specific content-related strategies, Zambians are already executing these.
Yes.
But we are not doing it in a very intentional, structured way.
Yes.
We're not doing it in a very professional way even. Yes. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like she started, managing these pages and doing whatever, and it was probably more so for publicity.
Yes.
But in responding to comments, engaging with content, sharing, even sharing her personal story, then it's grown into this thing where she's built her brand, she's built the brand for the business she was representing. Yes. And now she's moving away to building her own brand.
Yes.
So I think one of the points that came out in that conversation that we had was, look, a lot of these things are already being done. Really, it's about you as a person who wants to use these strategies, taking them and giving them structure, making them more professional for your business.
Yes.
And you will actually see them work. I think one of the people we mentioned, was Ben Lombe.
Okay.
Benombe, I mean, it depends on you, how you feel, what, whether the goodness or the badness, that's not what we're talking about.
Yes.
But we're talking about it from a perspective of community, for community engagement specifically.
And how it works for their brand.
For their brand, yes. Yeah. I mean, he runs a business. The truth is that he runs a business,
yes.
Right? He has is it a salon?
Yes.
And, he sells his hair products and all of these things. He does these live things and people interact and he comments back. And he, and he's gone viral on several occasions for some of the things.
Gloria.
Yeah, God.
Blocked.
Exactly. Blocked. So all of these things, and that's an example. Those are all examples of community engagement. The quality of it, is it good? Is it bad? Is that the approach you want to take? Maybe, those are...
There's different conversations.
That's a different conversation, but that's an example of it in action and it working for that particular business.
And also sticking to the fact that in as much as there's that, we also understand that different brands. Now, not just talking about individuals now, we also have companies that build their own communities and brands, and that community engagement. If you go to talk about Zanaco, I think, has this thing they do for startups.
Yeah.
So you have things like that. So you also start building a community around certain parts of your brand saying, you know what, we're able to raise you up to this level or that level. I think there's also another company that's really just deals with startups. What are they called?
Bongo Hive.
Yes. So you find that those also create a community around startups and
founders,
tech, and do things like that. And that's just what the brand is known for. And whenever people are trying to do anything related to startups and things like that, they realize, who are we partnering with? These are the people who understand and have built a community around the people who are trying to start. Exactly. So we have that when we talk about community engagement and knowing that it's past just individuals. We also have different companies in different industries that create these communities that we tend to want to be part of.
Yeah, I think I like that you touched on the aspect of brands. Brands evoke feelings, right? Yes. And when you create communities around you create a community around your brand, it's really about the members of the community. How are they feeling in connecting to other community members. I think a very big global example is like Harley Davidson. Harley Davidson, it's a lifestyle.
Yes.
It's a lifestyle. There's the clothes, there's the brand, there's the merch, etc., etc., etc. So essentially what we're saying is bringing that kind of community onto social media, bringing people who feel like, the product that you're providing, the service that you're providing, it strikes a chord with them, and then they're able to connect with other people who feel the same way. And maybe this, one individual person who's building this brand, or this organization that is building this brand, benefits from this brand loyalty, so to say, that is built through this community engagement.
And just on brands, I'm sure we should probably find time to have a conversation around it, because now we're no longer just defining brands as trying to distinguish yourself from the next person. A lot of it has to do with what are the qualities and the personality that exists within this brand. Because now brands have personalities.
Yeah, they do.
When you think of it, something comes to mind.
Yes,
you're like, okay,
feeling.
that's exciting.
Yes,
that's serious.
Yes,
that's scary. Because if you talk about, say, like the same way we're talking about social media, LinkedIn.
Yes, it feels formal.
It feels formal.
Feels
like
formal.
You're not going there to start using
just
banag.
vibes. Just vibes. No. It's not just vibes on LinkedIn.
Just no posting. No, we were out drinking. We were partying.
No.
If you're going to do that, the brand for that is Facebook or
Instagram
or X, and that's where you feel
vibes.
You can do that and spread out your vibes to everyone else. Yeah. So just wanted to touch on that.
Yeah, I mean, we could go on and on about brands, but we still have very, very few things to touch on.
Yes.
On the social media bit. I think the other one is influencers and influencer collaborations. But we will be getting into that a little later, so maybe we can skip over that one.
Yeah, we'll skip over that because I think in our next episode, which you should look out for.
Yeah.
Very interesting one. Into just influencer marketing and how we go about that. Yeah. So we'll then go to paid advertising. So we understand that social media platforms offer robust advertising tools to target specific demographics, interests, behaviors, and more. So you come from a point of where, depending on who it is you're trying to sell things to, now you know that you can be very specific.
Yes.
Okay. And you realize, okay, what I'm trying to sell is the addresses. So as opposed to just being everything to everyone, now you can be very specific as to who you're targeting, and then you have a better chance of getting a higher return on your investment because you are very specific, and the people you actually want to see the product that's available are going to see it. Exactly. Whereas I'm scrolling, I see a dress, I'm not going to buy a dress. So
maybe you will. Maybe you're the customer but not the consumer.
But you see, but if you do that on Valentine's, we can now just
shift things around. Yes.
Because that would now be the dress or the chocolate or the flowers would be targeted to me to buy for my significant other, my beloved.
I feel like Nyombo gets a mention every episode. She needs to come here and explain. Anyway, that aside, so I think that target marketing, the segmentation and the feature that allows you to choose the specific demographic, even the specific geographic location, is actually a game changer.
Yes.
That, I think, is one of the things that traditional media doesn't necessarily have in its specificity, because with Facebook you would choose the age, you would choose the geographic location, you even choose the specific times. There's AI that can help you pick up what are the times that people are most active, the people who you want. What are the times that they are most active, and then help you to craft messages specifically for those people. You know what I mean? So it's very it's exciting technology, and it's a very, very amazing tool that marketers can use.
Love it.
So other than that, specific things that you need to look out for are trends and algorithm changes, and using analytics as well. Those are two very, very important things. I think we'll touch a little bit more on those two in future episodes, but on the algorithm side of it, when you're talking about Facebook, for instance, no one really knows how the algorithm works.
Yeah.
There are general patterns that we've seen. I think one of the conversations we were having a little before the episode started was how, sometimes there's like bigger businesses that are managing their social media platforms, and it's giving like individual person managing their own page.
Exactly. What exactly is going on with the people running these pages?
Why are you posting like that?
Is it a joke?
It doesn't quite add up. But I was saying that part of it is wanting to ride the wave of the algorithm, because patterns show that certain kinds of posts will get more engagement.
Yes.
Certain kinds of pictures even will get more engagement. And so because maybe this particular organization wants to leverage to get more engagement, they'll then say something disruptive, in order to get more engagement. So that's something very, very important to
the
consider.
algorithm.
Yeah.
Yes. So back to the algorithm. I don't know if you remember the time there was a Bugatti that came into the country, and it was going to...
What a time.
It was going to SA. For some reason, we were all just...
The country came to a standstill.
It came to a standstill.
A
Because of this
Bugatti was trending,
It was
which wasn't even for in the country. It wasn't even our Bugatti.
And I will use that as how they managed to now use the algorithm correctly for certain companies. So you find that there were some insurance companies that went out of the way and said, you know what? Had this Bugatti been staying in this country, we were definitely
would have insured it.
Would have insured
it.
Yeah,
we would be there.
issues
No,
whatsoever.
we got you covered.
Exactly. And then you have, I'm sure maybe even the ZRA would probably come in.
Yeah,
and talk about, you know what? It is fully paid for.
Yeah, the taxes are cleared.
The taxes are cleared. We have no issues with this Bugatti.
It can come through. It can be driven.
And more can come and use Zambia, with our fixed prices for this and for duty and whatnot. So I guess that's one way of, using the algorithm, because now everyone is talking about the Bugatti. Might as well jump in and people see a positive side to what you can actually do
for them.
Yes, in a situation like that. And you talked about analytics and optimization. I think going forward, hopefully in our next episode, when we talk about influencers, we go into how those,
how do you assess the returns, value? How do we
using.
know that the influencers are actually influencing?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's in the next episode. I think this was a good conversation.
It was
Last words.
A great conversation. To finish, we acknowledge that social media, please, is can be used as a successful marketing strategy, with a mix of creativity, consistency, understanding the audience, and adaptation to the ever-changing landscape. I'm sure we can do lots of beautiful things, and really have people understand our brand personality, and reach the masses.
Yeah, it is a very, very big place, so to say, but there is value. But it's very, very important to be very clear about what you're trying to achieve.
Yes.
Using these platforms, and don't be afraid to invest. Right? It requires time, it requires energy, it requires resources, but don't be afraid to invest. Come up with a very good strategy, a good plan, a good mix of all of these different things. And I think you stand to, make some good returns on your investment.
Exactly. So like you said, have a goal. Don't just do it for the sake of doing it. Have a goal, know exactly what you're doing and what
are we trying to accomplish.
Is. Yes, and home and dry.
Yeah, I think that's all for today.
That's all for today. With that said,
remember to keep your finger
on the marketing pulse.
We hope that you have enjoyed today's episode just as much as we have.
Till next time, remember to keep your finger on the marketing pulse.